So let me ask you this. So I love these conversations because I'm so intrigued by this because there's so many factors that go into it. And in your books, you really dive into a lot more detail. But one of the things I love the way you approach this was you were talking about an incredible story about the laundry. And you kind of came to this like first principles approach where you're like, hey, why do we have 1,000 different keys for all these laundromats? And it was just so ineffective. The process, and then when you actually got to it, you go on and basically say the reason why is because back in the 1960s, whenever the company was established, there was a lot of people coming in here and robbing the things. But they put all these procedures in so that these people weren't robbing them or whatever. And then, of course, it was never updated. And that's what I found so interesting. So you kept asking why do we do it? And then all of a sudden, by figuring out the why, you're able to realize that this is ineffective and inefficient. And then you created a better, more efficient process and so forth in this example, where now all of a sudden you didn't need as many people. You were able to be more effective. These people were able to get more coins, and you had to actually get bigger trucks because there's so many coins for each truck. And it was just unbelievable. It was a good, positive kind of situation, but by just asking that first principles approach in that situation. And I'm just curious, are there other companies where you have seen that, where maybe you're working with some of your employees and your team, and you say, okay, how do we look at the process? Yes, we're looking at operations. Yes, we're looking at all this other stuff, but also, hey, how can we be more efficient and effective when we're integrating these companies into the platform business?
I find these opportunities in every company I go to all the time. So what winds up happening is companies that have any kind of history, not startups per se, but a company that's been around for a long time, they have institutionalized methodologies of doing things, and no one challenges convention. And you've heard the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I always tell people, just because it's not broken doesn't mean it's efficient. And I have Six Sigma training from my days at GE. And, and so oftentimes what we do is we're so busy with day-to-day operations or doing the things that we need to do every day to service our customers. There's nobody working on the business. We're all working in the business. And so I love the concept of bringing in people, whether I do it through consultants, as a temporary surge kind of method, or whether I hire people internally in the organization to do it, who have no P&L responsibility to the business whatsoever, but simply to take a look at repetitive tasks that are done, just time and time again, thousands and thousands of iterations, in a year in a big company, and just let's process map this out. And let's decide, first of all, does it add value to our customers? And like with the example that you used, we, by redesigning that process, developed a 40% increase in employee productivity. And when you're talking about a company with hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, a 40% increase in employee productivity is remarkable. You're talking about earnings, doubling or tripling, not because we grew or added one single customer, just because we had revenue and we learn how to service that revenue more efficiently. And so the older the company is, the longer that it's been in business doing the same things that it's been doing, probably the more opportunity there is. And there's more of this just institutionalized behavior of, this is the way we've always done it. I was trained to do that by a guy who did it for 20 years before me. I'm training the next person how to do it the same way. And it's like, no one says, should we do it? Number one. And then number two, can we do it better? And so I always challenge. And I think a lot of times it's easy for me, when I get into a new company, because the people that are there generally have been there for a long time. And so they don't see the chessboard anymore. They're a piece, they're at the pawn level looking at another pawn across. And I'm coming in and I'm looking from on high, and I'm looking at the entire chessboard at once. And I'm like, what? This doesn't make sense to me. Why are we doing this? And so I like to teach an organization how to constantly challenge the status quo, to make sure that what we're doing today, that is been around for a while, still makes sense, number one. And then if it does make sense or it's required, can we do it faster, better, cheaper? And I also talk about low value work versus high value work. If I have technicians, as an example, who are repairmen, who are fixing things, I don't want them driving. I don't want them ordering parts. I don't want them filling out paperwork. I want to automate everything about their life to the highest extent possible so that they spend more time standing in front of broken equipment using their skill, which is the high value work. And I want to try to outsource or automate, invest in technology and automate all the low value work that they used to do. And it's not just technicians in the field. A person who sits in an office and sits in a cubicle, generally every department has high value work, low value work. Low value work, it needs to be done. It's important, but it wastes my time, and there's this other work that is more impactful. And if I could spend more time doing that and less time doing this repetitive, redundant stuff, then I could move the ball farther down the field. And so I always a heavy investment in technology when I get to a business. Let's look at each job. Let's look at high value work, low value work. What can we automate? What can we outsource? Low value work, people don't mind when you outsource that to someone else because they don't like doing it to begin with. And then when I free them up to spend more time doing really high value, interesting type work, that really moves the needle, they're generally happier.
And everybody loves to be happier. And one of the things that I love what you're saying is you would go into business, and like you mentioned, you're looking at the chessboard from 30,000 feet down, and you're looking at the whole thing and how it's all going to play out. But also, it's the importance of being able to find those high leverage activities. And like you mentioned, just that one thing, one strategy. It wasn't more customers. It was everything was the same, but all you did was just create a system and more effective and more efficient. All of a sudden, huge explosion in regards to just straight bottom line, basically. And it was just incredible to see that. And I think there's, like you mentioned, you see that in numerous times throughout companies where there's just high leverage activities where you can just, pull a lever and boom, all of a sudden everything's rocking and rolling. And I think that's just, I love those kind of stories because it's
It's the
every
obvious.
business.
Then someone says, I didn't see that. It's because they were too busy being busy. They're too busy being in the chess game that they're not watching the board from on high.
Yeah, the whole adage and the whole quote says, stop working on your business and stop working in your business, work on your business, right? And everybody,
Yes.
it's easier said than done sometimes, but it's awesome.
It is.